Emilia, how are you, lovely?
I'm good. I'm excited. This is my first in-person podcast. So it feels really special.
Did I know this?
I don't think you did, no.
I think I asked yesterday if you've been on a podcast and you're like, yeah, I have. And I'm like, she's pro. Season pro.
Yeah. But no, this is good.
This is fun. And you're finally here. Like, this is the second time I've met you. I met you yesterday. And we've been connected on Instagram for a year. I feel like it's longer than that, but it could be a year. And now we're finally in the same place. And we're like, let's catch up. And then I'm about to go off. And you're about to go off as well. And I'm just, I'm happy to finally meet you after talking for so long.
Do you want to hear the story of how I actually found you?
Of course. Do tell.
So it was literally March of last year, I think, that I first reached out to you. And I was looking for podcasts that were in the vibe of the kind of stuff that I like to talk about, so I could approach and be a guest for one. So I found the Conscious Podcast Instagram page, and I sent in a little message. I don't know what I said, but I obviously pitched myself to be like, hi, you're amazing, I'm amazing, let's do something together.
As you do.
And I got a message back from the Conscious Podcast page.
I know this.
And it was like, hey, Emilia, that sounds great. Like, if you can just message Carlo over on his Instagram page. So I was like, I'm doing really well. I'm like, I think I'm in there. So I go over to your page and send you a message. I was like, and I don't even know what I said, but I know that it would have been along the lines of like, hey, I've been speaking with the Conscious team. Like, they're really keen. Can I be on your podcast? And you were like, hey, thanks. So that was me all along talking to you.
The Conscious team is me. Just sneakily saying, hey, look, this is Carlo's team, and
which
good do what you gotta do.
In that moment I was like, okay, I need to be on his podcast because that just makes me like him even more.
Sorry for disappointing you.
I was like, that sounds very good. And then but the part where I can be a little bit red-faced was that you then asked me, I would really like to get you on, but can you tell me like which episodes you really liked? And we were in like one of those chats, you know, where you see the dots going. And I was like, shit, I've never listened to an episode. So the conversation was going, and I was like, yeah, of course. And I literally like paused, like grabbed my phone, listened to an episode, and was like, oh, this is actually a legit podcast. So then I messaged back, being like, episode 7, amazing. But yeah. So it was all meant to be in like the roundabout way.
Oh, well, I appreciate you actually listening to one. That's one big thing. I get a lot of people asking, and I'm like, oh, which was your favourite episode? Again.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are like, all of them. And I'm like, no. What's one? Because I want to know you've listened to it.
Yeah.
'Cause at the end of the day, like, even if you said no, like, I would have been like, oh, cool. Like, sweet. Maybe listen to one and see if it's the right vibe. But you did.
Yeah.
And here we are.
And then I was actually converted. So, yeah.
You are now in the Conscious tribe.
Yeah.
What have you been up to? Why are you in Melbourne? What's happening in life?
So I probably would say that I just travel a lot. Like in my lifestyle, I just travel a lot, which is awesome. So I've been living in Bali for the last couple of months, and this year I was like, I'm going to just hit 4 countries. So Bali, Oz, maybe Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
I just kind of, whenever my intuition is like, it's time to travel,
to move,
we just go for it.
Why not?
Yeah.
Didn't you go back home as well to the UK?
Yeah.
So that's 4 kind of.
And I was in New Zealand last year as well. So yeah.
I thought I travel a lot, but you're nomadic lifestyle, but you do want to settle down somewhere. You're looking at.
Yeah, I can feel it coming. I'm just waiting to know where that's going to be.
It's a possibility in there, which is so cool. So really, like, for me, I know a bit about you. We've caught up yesterday, and I've known you for like a year. So I see everything that you do. But for the listeners that don't know that much about you or what you do, can you give us a rundown on your life from start to where you are now and all the amazing things that you do now?
Yeah. So right now, I am a internationally certified life and business coach, and I've been doing that. I've been in business for 2 and a bit years, and I am just super passionate about people who are really ready to like go into their next step up, but are probably holding themselves back by either not feeling into their worth, not feeling deservingness of it, or not trusting themselves. So that's kind of like the main pillars of where I always work with women, is to get them building up so that they actually see like the excellence that everyone else sees. And yeah, I'm definitely a free spirit, they would say. One of my biggest values is freedom. And for me, that can be practiced in so many different ways. Like travel is one of them, but equally for me, it's as freeing to have a permanent setup and just be like, oh, what are we going to do today? Like, let's just go for a hike, or like, you know. So yeah, and I honestly, for probably all of my years up until I was 26, I thought that I would be someone that would just kind of float through life, never having a career that lit them up or a purpose that felt really fulfilling. And I kind of like compensated with that by trying to always be the helper, trying to always be the nice one, trying to be the person that was the friend that everyone would come to, or the family member everyone would come to, so that I felt like I had some level of purpose. And little be known to me at the time, like that was almost the things that were guiding me towards, oh, there's a thing called coaching which you can do, where actually you can actually transform people's lives, as opposed to just hoping through that friendship level or that family level or a colleague level that what that thing that you say or the inspiration you give them is actually going to hit home. So yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us about all of that. How did it get you to where you are now? What's the journey?
I feel like I can kind of work it from working backwards. So I just had a moment when I was like 26 and I was sat in my corporate office in London.
What were you doing then?
I was doing recruitment, and I had already kind of like let myself down because I'd just spent a year in Oz. I moved back home to London and was like, I'm going to move back and I'm going to do something purposeful with my life. And within 48 hours of being back in London, I got headhunted by an awesome recruitment company. So I just, out of pure scarcity mindset, took the job. I was like, I have no home, I have no job, I'll just take this one. And a few months down the line, I was like in this job, and I remember just one day like looking around, and I was so low. I remember I had a conversation with one of my friends, and the best part of my day was the walk to work. Like that was the best part of my day, because I walked to work, I listened to the Tim Ferriss show, and I
Good
would
podcast.
be like, yeah, this is a good part. And I was just almost, I want to say now I was almost too positive, because it was that fake positivity. So I would hang out with my friends and be like, yeah, but you know, it's great because I enjoy my walk to work. And they were like, that's really sad that that's the best part of your day. And I kind of like needed that to be like, yeah, that is really sad. And I think I recognized that I'd started to live for the weekends, and that was one thing I told myself I would never do. I would never be someone that dreamed of it being Friday and mourned the loss of my life on a Sunday night, being like, oh shit, I've got to go back to work. So yeah, I just kind of had this epiphany moment. I'd known about coaching for a while. I'd known it was something that I wanted to do. And I just remember looking around the office and being like, I'm even going to be here in 10 years' time, still miserable, still knowing that I'm not living. I'm like, I just didn't even feel alive. I felt like I was grey. And the world was like in colour, and I was just like this grey person. And I literally that day like ran home in the rain, because the course that I wanted to do to become a coach was 95% sold out. And I was like, if I don't get into that space, like that's it for me. Like it was such a like sliding doors moment of my life can go one of two like ways. So yeah, I got home, signed up for the course, and ever since, and that was January 2017, and I honestly feel like my life has flipped so much. I can barely even recognize what once was, you know? That's
so crazy. And obviously we'll get into it deeper in the questions that we get stuck into, and dive deeper into what's happened and all that. But I think it's so amazing, and I think that a lot of people do get to that point where they're, the best part of their day might be the drive to work, or, the break that they get during their job. And I think it's we're starting to wake up that it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah.
Maybe before when we thought there was no option, but once you see that there's so many different options, we can do things that we want to do. In that moment though, and I loved how you said it, like you were too positive. Was the positivity like a mask where it was like, if I'm positive, then I'll be happy and then things will be better? Was it that, even though the situation was it trying to cover it up?
Yeah, for sure. So it was very much a case of, if I just put this layer over, then I don't really have to delve in and look at all of the mess that's going on. Because at that time, like, my life was a mess, like legit mess. And I just I wasn't happy. I didn't know myself. I was like in the midst of my eating disorder, which I had for 4 years. I was trying to just project on the outside that I was still the same person that once had been really happy, and I think that I was just like, if I can just imitate the way that I used to show up, which actually used to just be authentic. But if I can just keep imitating that onto this life and all my friends are in this lifestyle, like of the hustle and the work and the grind and like, let's drink wine on a Wednesday so we can get ourselves through the week. And, like that kind of vibe. I was like, maybe then it will kind of carry me through. But it actually just made it even harder because I used it as such a mask that it felt so hard to open up to anyone to say I'm going for a really tough time or anything, because I felt like I had to uphold this, like, I'm the positive one. Everyone wants to be in my energy, even though it was so like I was giving it and not giving it back at all to myself. Yeah.
So what's the downside of putting on a positive mask when you're not actually in a good place?
I would say that there's a downside to putting on any emotion that you don't genuinely feel. Like, if you don't genuinely feel something, then you're being inauthentic to yourself, and then you're going to lose trust with yourself because you're going to be... So I was kind of trying to be positive, and inside I felt lost and scared and sad and angry and all these different things. So I wasn't actually honoring any of that. So I would say it's just trying to be any emotion where you're not actually experiencing it is the worrying thing. Whereas, and it dilutes it for when you are in that moment. So then, whereas when we are in our positive moments, we want to be able to experience that fully and immerse ourselves in it, as opposed to just trying to create that.
Yeah. So why do people do it then? Why do you think people... I know, I've been there.
Yeah.
I love your opinion on it. Is that I've done it.
Yeah.
And for some point it got me through what I was going through. Yeah. But it also was like... It feels like so much effort. It feels heavy because I'm lying and always being the person that's like, how are you? And being like, great, amazing, life's amazing. And then people being like, oh, awesome. Yeah. And it's like, inside, no, it's not great. Yeah. And if I was honest about it, people could then be there for me. Yeah. So why do people put on that persona of always positive or optimistic in their life when things aren't?
I think it's because we're scared to look at the emotions that are going on underneath. Because you're either presented with two options. It's like you can buy into the belief that you're positive and just live in that space, or you can go and do like the inner work and look at all of the things, and that can be so triggering and so uncomfortable. Like for me, it definitely was. I was like, oh my God, I actually have to spend time with all of this. But I think for me, the fear was... And it's only through, going through it that I can speak to this. But it was like the fear was, maybe I'm not a positive person at all. And I'm actually all of these really dark emotions. And I won't be able, if I succumb to them, then that's who I am as a person. So it was kind of like the fear of that. But it was actually, nowadays, I'd say that's why I'm so, think it's so important to live in our emotions and of whatever experience we're going through, because then you can move through them. Whereas I just had blocked them out for so long that I didn't realize you could move through them. I thought that when you then went there, you had to live there forever.
That was consumed you. That was all you'd ever have.
Yeah.
So emotions are temporary. You can move through them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
That's so awesome. Do you think it's the same as the people that, I guess it would be you could just change the situation of like positivity and optimism for some people, but then also it would be trying to be something else, whether it's as a personality, as a brand, an introverted person trying to be extroverted all the time.
Yeah.
It's going to be consuming of their energy. It won't feel right.
Yeah.
And probably the opposite as well, as someone that's naturally extroverted trying to be introverted and being like, well, I'm not happy.
Yeah. Just anything where you're not really being who you are is going to be exhausting, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's exhausting. But it's so easy to fall into because often whilst we're doing that, we don't really know who we are. So we might not even know that we're introverted. So we think that, like, when I did the spectrum of it, I'm 52% extroverted and 48% introverted. But I would have thought that I was like 80% extroverted. And I didn't realize at the time of like how much I needed my own space and silence and stuff, because I just didn't know myself. So I think it's so easy when you're like on the other side to pinpoint stuff. When you're in it, you just think that you perhaps sometimes don't even realize you're living to like a false version of yourself, because you don't really know like who you are or who you've become.
Unless you do the work and figure it out. And that's what I think a lot of people are like, I'm introverted. And I'm like, settle down. Like, you're probably just, you like your alone time. That's cool. For example, myself, I was always like, I'm extroverted. I connect with lots of people all the time. People are like, you're such an extrovert. And I'm like, yeah, but even without doing these tests, I'm like, but I spend a lot of time on my own and I like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me an introvert or an extrovert. It makes me both.
Yeah.
I don't put it as my identity as I'm an extrovert. I have to hit these certain points to make sure I'm an extrovert, or these points to make sure, because again, if you, similar to the emotions, if you make that your identity, then what do you think is going to happen? Like I believe I'm ambiverted. I'm both.
Yeah.
I can be extremely extroverted or extremely introverted depending on the situation and how I'm feeling.
Yeah. And I think it's so dangerous when we start to label ourselves as anything in particular, because then we have to live up to that.
Yeah.
But I think also, I don't know if you feel like you see this a lot in the coaching world, but I think that it's so easy for people to go into something because then they feel seen for the first time. So like, I'm gonna recognize that and carry that label of whether it's extroverted, introverted, their star sign, their human design, like whatever it is, and I'm gonna because I feel seen and validated. And that's amazing that it can give us that, but allow it to give you that and then evolve as who you are as a person, as opposed to I'm a projector, so I must nap every day, sort of thing, which, although I am a projector and I do love naps, but,
nap life. Yeah. That's so powerful, because I think that, a lot of people do, and I see it in our space. I see it in just people in general as well. And again, it's not, I don't go, oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing that. It's great awareness to know that you are those certain things. But when you attach to something, you got to be very careful, because that can consume you. And it's like, we get to create our reality every second. Yeah. We don't have to be. And that evolvement thing is like, it doesn't mean you stay there. You're enough, yet you can be that, but also keep evolving. Because I always thought that was bad. If I was to evolve and my vehicle was to change of how I'm living my purpose, it'd be a bad thing. If I go from soccer for 15 years and then go into business, I've just wasted 15 years. It's like, no, that was my life then. Yeah. The next thing. But don't attach my identity to I am this person. Yes. Which I did for so long. And again, what if one day you just like hanging out with lots of people all the time? I'm not introverted anymore. Who am I? It's like, no, just settle down, people. Yeah, definitely. It's like, use any of that stuff to expand you, but at the moment it feels like it's hindering rather than helping. Like, is the moment to be like, am I actually denying parts of who I am? Yeah. Well, I've seen this big thing going around on social media where it was like, take away your titles. So it takes away the pressure of, you're not that, you are you. And I'm like, yeah, cool, but we run businesses. If people don't know what we do, then they're not gonna sign up to our courses or our programs and work with us. And I love that aspect. But I also see that it's like, yeah, but you're taking it too far then. Like, if you're not showing who you are as well as what you do, your titles, then that's the problem, not you showing your titles. Yeah. Because we have to show our titles. Like, It doesn't make us who we are. It's exactly the same as what we've been talking about this whole 20 minutes of that. And I love it so much because it's so relevant right now, and it's like we don't need to be consumed by those things. Like, we are us, but then we can pick and choose and be different things at different times.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is success to you?
Oh, I actually was journaling about this the other day. So success to me is living life at its fullest expression, which changes moment by moment. But it's really about being authentic to that moment, really. And I think that obviously I've got my own things that I want, that I can be like, oh yeah, I've done this, I've achieved this, or I feel this. But I really think success is just feeling that you are living, that you're living, and that you're experiencing it as is. So for instance, when you have a huge achievement, that you allow yourself to experience it and soak it in. And when you're going through something that you're needing to navigate through, you're allowing yourself to experience it and soak it in. And yeah, I think that's success. Being like, essentially, without wanting to sound like too corny, it's essentially just allowing yourself to be yourself. Like, that is the biggest success, I think, is to be yourself, because there's so much greatness that is each individual. And I think sometimes we think, oh, but if all I allow myself to be, if I deem success as just being myself, I'll never do anything. But actually the moment we're ourselves is when we start to achieve all these amazing things. So I think you can probably actually scale your external achievements even bigger from that space.
Whoa, that's a great description. I haven't heard one like that before, but I love it. Success is being you and living in your full expression of being you. Because that's where you find that fulfillment. And then you do the things, like you said, do the things that you love because you're being you. And naturally it's going to lead on to other things, which could be a business, could be a podcast, could be monetary or not monetary, but you'll do the things that you love.
Yeah, because it's like if you ask anyone what success is for them in terms of like an external thing, whether they say, oh, it's like a 7-figure business, or it's having a family, or it's being able to travel every country of the world, then the moment that you then ask them what they're feeling, they're like, I feel alive, I feel free, I feel expansive, I feel myself, and it's kind of like, oh, so it all, I'm definitely a believer in doing the be it first, then have and do it. Like be in that state first and then have it.
Be, do, have.
Yeah.
You be that person, do the things that align with the things that you want, and then you get those things. Not the other way around. It's not when I have the money or the business or the relationship, then I will be happy and be fulfilled. It's like, no, you be that first.
Yeah.
It's so good. I actually did a post about this recently.
Did you? Yeah.
It's so good that you're touching on it. Maybe you read that post. Maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe we're just so aligned that we think about the same things. Would you say you're living your purpose?
I think I'm living my purpose for right now, but I'm excited to see how it evolves because I have no idea where it's going to go. Like, no idea. I definitely, I'm living my purpose for right here, right now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And how does that feel?
Really
to live
good.
in your purpose. Yeah.
Really good. Yeah. I mean, there's like no complaints from my end. It's all going well, so.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I've got no further questions.
Yeah.
That's how living your purpose feels. So be the full expression of you guys. We can end it now. No, I'm joking. We're not ending it now. What is the worst thing that has ever happened to you, and how is that the best thing that has ever happened to you?
It would be my eating disorder for sure. So at the time it was like the worst thing, but it actually has led me to be, it's like it's I can't even imagine a world of not having had it, because I know that it gave me so much. Like, it made me do the work, honestly, it's why I'm a coach,
When did all this happen?
So I mean, I had like a really disordered relationship with food from 16 onwards, but my actual like worst period was from 22 to 25, 26, when I had full-blown bulimia and would throw up all day, every day.
So what's bulimia?
So bulimia is when you, the main symptoms are that you either you binge a lot on food and then you purge it out of your body. So whatever that looks like, it could be through sickness, it could be through taking laxatives, it could be through excessive exercise. And then there's other things as well that can come with it. So it might be that you also restrict your food sometimes or that kind of thing. For me, it was definitely a classic, the old school binge and purge option I went for was my choice. So yeah, and I just had so much shame around it, like so much shame that in some ways made it even worse than even just the physicality of having it. It was like the shame, the secrecy, having to lie to people about stuff all the time, getting to the point that, and it's always really interesting, so whenever I talk about it, sort of like a different angle comes out, but it's always with an eating disorder, you kind of fall into it because you just want to control something, and it ends up becoming the thing that controls you and consumes you. And I remember just almost having such a mediocre approach to it at the beginning. I was like, oh, it's fine, I've got a handle on this, it's all good. And then a couple of years in, when I was actually at my lowest point, I was just, I was like, oh, I'm actually consumed by this now, and I don't even know who I am as a person away from this. So it was one of those things where it was like the biggest, it was like the biggest enemy in my life that I was like battling every day, but it was also the thing that I kind of wanted to keep close because it made me feel safe to some degree.
It was at that time probably part of your identity of who you were.
Yeah.
Comfortable. No, you knew what it was like.
Yeah.
Why, or what made it come about?
I mean, I can talk about it from a really like practical sense of, I think it came about because I lost a lot of weight, and I lost that all from dieting and like just eating well and exercising. I lost a lot of weight and I started to get loads of compliments about looking really good, and I felt really good. And literally, if I just stayed on that same path of like, oh, I work out because it makes me feel good, I eat well, I eat intuitively, which I actually was doing at the time. I was kind of like eating intuitively. So if I just stayed there, all would have been well. And instead, I suddenly started to get this fear of like, what if I can't keep this up? And what if I start to let people down? What if I let myself down? And so it just kind of became this thing. I was like, oh, well, I know a quick way that I can continue to manage my weight. And I kind of dabbled briefly when I was like 18, so I kind of already knew everything that was involved and what I needed to do. And I kind of it's weird, it was almost like that methodical an approach. I was like, okay, well, this is what I'll do, and I'll make this a thing. But that was where my head was at. But, looking back, I was just petrified of like life, I think. I was just so scared that I found the quickest thing that I could kind of use to comfort me, to kind of cover things up, to make me use it as like, well, there's nothing I can do because this is in the way.
Yep.
I used it as on my wall for everything for a long time. Yeah.
I know you've done the inner work, so this should be quite simple to answer. Yeah. What does that stem from? What were you actually searching for?
Love. Yeah.
From?
I think from my family, which feels uncomfortable to say because they give me so much love, but it was like a different angle perhaps that I was looking for. I was looking for love from my version of love as opposed to their version of love, and from myself. Like I literally I labeled myself as this helper that had to help everyone else, and unless I was doing something that was of service or good for other people, I was so unworthy and so unvaluable that I couldn't even look at myself. I was like, you are a mess. So it was love from outworld and inside. Yeah.
And I think that's would be so common to feel like wanting love.
Yeah.
We all want to be loved and accepted. And you knew you got that love and acceptance from being a certain way, certain weight, certain at a certain point in your life, health-wise and probably body-wise as well. And then without that, again, we attach to it, and then without that, it's like, I need that love again, so I'll do everything to get back to that. even if it's a detriment of myself.
Yeah.
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 And I think, look, I grew up and there was a lot that went through high school where I'd seen it, noticed it, but, I didn't know much about it. And now that, I guess I'm digging deeper into this stuff and hearing stories like yourself, it's like, oh, that's what they were feeling. That's where it came from. It's not that they're not just, well, for attention, yes, but that's not the underlying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously it's like I could only ever speak to my personal experience with it. So I don't want to, what I'm going to say is not me like doing an overriding theme of what this is. But for me, it was just my new choice of how to keep trying to create an emotion that, so like because from like 17 to 22, it was drinking every single night and sleeping with a lot of guys. And then from 22, when I stopped doing that, I literally was like, that's the old me. I'm going to be who I need to be now. But because I didn't do any inner work, then I looked for the next thing. So I was like, oh, great, I'll pick that one off the shelf. Believe me, it is. Which I know is very different for some people. Like some people would say that it didn't in any way feel like a choice, but for me, it sure was a choice. It was literally like, I'll use that. But it very quickly then didn't feel like a choice, and I was like, this just is how life is now. Yeah.
That's what the inner work's so important.
This is why we do what we do.
That's why we preach it. It's not just because, we are in that field. It's that this is what's helped us.
Yeah, and it's so good to talk about this kind of stuff because, how you and I are day to day now is we are like, we're living out our purposes. We're feeling really great. And you sometimes forget the depths of that your soul went to that actually gave you the direction to do what you do or to even just be the person you're going to be and try and, kind of like give that out to the world, even if you're not in the industry or anything that we are in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's powerful, and it's obviously we only know what we know now. We didn't know it back then. The foresight of hindsight. Yeah. It's like I wouldn't change anything about my past, but I would, the awareness of this stuff, like I didn't know there was podcasts and people talking about this stuff, but if I had to listen to something and understood the amount of people I could have just been more understanding of their situation, would have been amazing. And that's where you get that you're listening to this or watching this. It is on YouTube as well. Please go subscribe. But also, like, we get that information now. We're able to now know. Like, we've got a choice to gain that knowledge. Now you're saying that to me, and I'm like, oh, I've actually heard of, like, one of my friends who's got bulimia and wanted to do one of my programs. And I'm like, I have no idea what the hell that is. Not in my area of thing. Okay, there you go. You've got a referral now. Someone that's been through it, but now I know and I'm more understanding. Instead of just, if I looked at it on the internet and going, oh, that's one person's opinion, you've actually been through it. Yeah. And also been successful of coming out of that. And living in your purpose and being happy. Yeah. From what I can see.
Yeah. Well, so March 4th we just had passed was 2 years fully recovered. So I have this...
Congrats, by the way.
Thank you. I started in recovery, which is kind of the normal term for anyone going through an eating disorder of any kind would be to go into recovery. And I was in that stage for like a year, and I just it didn't ring true for me at all. Like, there was nothing for me personally that felt inspiring about this is something you have to manage for the rest of your life. I was like, no, because it's just going to get in the way. It was like kind of being told you have to carry this suitcase around with you forever. And I was like, but guys, I can't like do fun stuff if I've cut the suitcase with me. And so for me, and I have other people that are really close to me that for them that feels inspiring. For them, it's like, I can manage it, and that for them is enough for them to really kind of get recovered. But for me personally, I had to go from literally March 4th, 2018, I went, I'm no longer going to call it recovery, I'm calling it recovered. It just is what it is. I am now recovered, like, and that is it. And I honestly can't say how much that changed my life. Like, that was the moment where I was like, oh, whatever I say just is as it is. Like, I don't really even speak about it because it's not relevant to me in the moment anymore, Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And I wouldn't have had any idea unless we asked such a deep question of what was the worst, the best thing. And it's obviously made you who you are today, and it was all part of the journey and process. of becoming the amazing Emilia that you are now, that you were then as well, but also now, and inspiring others. So what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I'm really struggling with this one. Really struggling. I'll say this because it kind of relates to what we've been speaking about, but in the March of 2018, me and my best friend went on a trip to Bali together, and she'd been going through some stuff I've been going through. I was still like in recovery, and that was great, but I also was like working 70 hours weeks because I was working a full-time job and starting to build a business and all this kind of thing. And we both just arrived and we were stressed, tired, pasty. We were like, get us to the sun, get us to the beach. And we started playing chess, which is like my favorite game ever now. I'd never really played it as a child. I knew the rules vaguely, and as did my friend. But we started playing chess every single day. We just got addicted, and we would literally, to the point that we would go to this local orung and borrow their chessboard, cycle down to the beach and just play for hours. And we were joking about getting tattoos. And we were like, we should get chess as a tattoo because like chess is life. And then we came up with an anagram, and it was just this really blissful moment. It's one of my favorite moments of my life so far. We were on Gili Air, like on this white sand beach in like tropical blue sea, and we came up with the anagram for chess, which is choose happiness every single second. And for us, we're both just like, this is it. Like this, yes, this has to be it. So not quite advice, but my best friend is just like, is my advice, you know? Like, I feel like when I'm with her, we can pretty much accomplish anything. So, yeah.
So the advice and what did you call it? An anagram?
Yeah. Is that what it
analogy?
is? Analogy?
No.
I think it is an anagram,
okay.
and it's like the letters for the word.
Yeah.
Choose happiness every single second.
Oh, so it's CHESS.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I got it
Yeah.
now. What do I call them? I don't call it that. It's something else.
I probably got it wrong.
But yes, amazing. Choose happiness every single second.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
It's tricky, isn't it? Because you know what you were saying earlier about how you wouldn't change anything? I feel the same. So I'm like, what advice would I give them? Because it brings up this whole other can of worms of, do we go through the life experiences we go through because we needed to in order to then get where we're at? So that's why I find it really hard. But I think I would just kind of say to... what would I say? I think it would just be... It would honestly be to let yourself hear all the things that people tell you about yourself that are amazing. Like, I had people that would be like, you're so special. You're gonna do something really big with your life, or, you know, kind of all of this stuff being fed to me, and I just blocked it off. And it would just be like, open yourself up to what people that you love and trust are telling you, and start exploring that.
Why? Why'd you block it?
Oh, I just was like, I'm not special enough. Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Oh, God. Definitely from being a kid, but I'm not sure exactly where.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was it a point of like, I don't accept of myself, therefore I don't believe of those things, therefore if someone tells me, I don't believe it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you believe all the negative things that they'd say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. That's what we all do, right? Yeah, for sure. It was kind of like, oh, that's kind that you're saying that, but we all know that you're lying. Or it would sometimes be frustration as well of like, I could tell, so my mum's partner would literally almost like have tears in his eyes telling me how amazing I was. And I would just be like, I just don't see it. And like, what do you see that I don't see? Yeah. But I see it now, so...
Amazing. And I've been there. Compliments on even recently, as to a couple of months ago, when people are like, "Oh, you're doing so awesome! Like, what you're doing is amazing." And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks." Like, kind of, not really compared to Joe Rogan or Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
It'd always be like, no, because it's not at that level. And it's like, no. Except now I'm like, thank you so much. Like, your support means so much to me, and that you see what I'm doing because I put a lot of effort into it. And it's me. And when people comment on me, it's like amazing. But also, I did see something. This is totally different, though, because I believe that that's really important. Gary Vee posted it yesterday. We had a cartoon picture of him with his fingers in his ear, just going la 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 la, and it's like one side was all compliments from people, like you're the best, go, you're amazing, your advice is incredible, what you've done is amazing, and on the other side was all the people going, you're bullshit, you're a liar, you're a fake, blah blah blah, and he's like, I don't listen to any of it. I know who I am, therefore I'm living my life, and I'm happy. You've got to learn. I think it's both ways. One, not ignore, but take it all in, because it's all feedback.
Yeah.
But be careful on who you're taking that feedback from. Do you want their advice or comments in your life?
Yeah.
Because everything's always coming from a internal,
yeah.
from their point of view, and it's like, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
If you're happy, you're happy.
Yeah. I'm really pleased that he spoke about that, because I feel like that's a topic that needs to be discussed a lot more, for sure. But yeah, it's definitely that thing of, I always think, so if I'm going to get, if I have an idea in mind and I think I could tell it to someone, and if they said a good thing, would I go for it? Or if they said a bad thing, would I stop it? Or would it be irrelevant of what they say, will I still do it? And that kind of helps me decipher sometimes as well. Yeah.
So which one do you do?
If it feels right from within, I do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you, when you're going to make a big decision, whether it's business or life, do you ask people of their advice?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah. I am one of those people that I'll come to someone and I'll say, I just need to talk at you and tell you what's going through my head, and I'll come to my own decision. Yeah. I actually find it, I literally have to be like, please don't give me any advice. I just need to use you as a sounding board. And I'll, because I always know. Like, big decisions for me are easy. I just know.
Yeah, when you trust yourself and you be you, authentically you, we talked about all the way at the start, your expression, Yeah. And I think I've got two amazing best friends, Adriana, a mutual friend, and Gregoria, and I'll ask, especially in those big moments, I get kind of, not anxious, but I get like, I want to share this. I want to see what other people think. Market research. There's difference between market research and asking your friends. These are people I really trust. They've mentored me, coached me. We work together. What do you think of this? And literally their response always is like, what do you think? But what are you leaning towards? And then I'll be like this. And they're like, well, that's all that matters. And I'm like, that's not what I asked for, but you're right.
Yeah.
Because it's true. Like, even if, example was a couple of months ago when I wanted to launch the program altogether. I had one person say, don't do it, you're not ready for it, it's Christmas, no one will buy it, blah, 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 blah. And then another friend that was like, it doesn't matter what time of year it is, just do it. And I went, what do I actually want to do? Would I want to do it regardless of the time of year, of people's situations? Would I want to do this? And it was yes. And again, there definitely is lessons in that if it didn't work, but it worked.
Yeah.
So what if I listened to the person that said, don't do it because it's Christmas?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have had that experience. I wouldn't have trusted myself, therefore produced my best work.
Yeah, definitely.
It's when we stand in our power, where we know the answers. This is our job as coaches. We don't tell people what to do. We just ask good questions to allow you to figure out the answers.
Yeah.
So
I feel like if they would have actually, like if Adriana or your other friend would have actually given you the advice, you'd be like, you're not in your coach mode right now. You shouldn't be telling me. Well, ask me a powerful question.
Whenever they have, it's been like, and it was I knew what I wanted. I just wanted to see what they would say to agree with it. And whenever they said the opposite, I'd be like, cool, thanks for your advice. And then I'd do it, and they're like, hey, that wasn't what I said. And I'm like, that's cool, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
You know, guys, you have it, all the answers within you. How can people find their purpose?
I feel like this is a very good question, but also one that has, like, I sometimes wonder if we're so busy looking for it, then we end up kind of looking outside of ourselves for it and maybe not looking inside for it. So I take it like very humbly that part of my purpose relates to my job. Like, so that was really, that was fortunate for me, right? That I was like, oh, I'm going to do this as work, and it happens to also be my purpose. But that might not always be the case for everyone. And I think I don't want people to ever feel disheartened because they haven't figured it out yet, and they don't feel like their work is their purpose. So I think how to find it. I honestly feel like if you allow your purpose in that moment to be to get to know yourself for however long you need to do that and do the work, then it will just unfold. Yeah. So maybe how to find your purpose is, well, the purpose right now is to know yourself fully, to learn to trust yourself again. And then from that space, your purpose will come through. It just will. Like there's no, because your purpose isn't trying to hide from you. It's just we're kind of like, blocking it a little bit.
And I love what you said of our purpose is inwards. It's never the outwards thing.
Yeah.
Once we find it within, we can then do it outside of us through our work, through our play, through anything that inspires us.
Yeah. But we just might need to delve into all the other bits in first to then uncover it. And to actually trust it when we see it. Because you might have already have seen it, but because you haven't got the self-trust in yourself, because that's over the years diminished, then you don't buy into that purpose.
And I love how you've touched on that. We've always got it. It's there. Yeah. We cover it up. And I think in my program, cheeky plug, that we go through that, and Emma does an amazing job of teaching everyone on a masterclass the journal prompts to then go back through your life. There's a pattern that's there of the things you love. That is purpose. Again, I believe, like you said, your purpose is changing, but your purpose is to always evolve. Yeah. But things that you love doing and light you up, there's going to be a pattern. Yeah. They're the things you should be doing because it's going to feel purposeful and fulfilled while you're doing those. But like you said, it's not the outwards thing. Don't try 100, like me. I tried 30 different jobs. It was still good, don't get me wrong. I don't think that's a bad experience. But if I had just went within first, because in those, I was literally just searching for money and going, I'll find something I love doing that. Don't get me wrong, you will. But if you were to come from a place of I already know what I love doing, now I can focus my energy on those opportunities, you get there a whole lot quicker. Yeah. And it feels a whole lot more effortless, but it doesn't mean that's easy, but effortless in the way that you're not going in unknown into everything. Yeah. More aligned.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's that whole thing of we're so desperate to seek our purpose because, again, we buy into it's going to make me feel a certain way. So it kind of comes back to the whole, well, if you allow yourself to feel what you're telling yourself your purpose is going to give you, then likelihood then it will appear because everything from a frequency level is going to match up anyway. Yeah. So
you'll attract those opportunities and everything in. Yeah. Be, do, have. Yeah. Start at the B. You do the right things, aligned action, and have is getting the thing. The thing that's the purpose. Yeah. The purpose job, the purpose opportunity in your life. Yeah. I love it. How can people find more fulfillment in their life or be more fulfilled?
I would say to actually give themselves permission to have fulfillment. Because I think, again, it's so easy to look outside externally, and I know the theme seems to be a lot around this living life in its fullest expression kind of thing. But I feel like if we are still conditioning ourselves, which I think we do a lot, conditioning ourselves to only allowing ourselves to feel fulfilled by certain things, by certain people, or when we've showed up in a certain way, then we're kind of pushing fulfillment away. I.e., my own personal example used to very much be when I even started the coaching business, it was kind of I still put a lot of my worth into helping others. So when I take time away from that, I wasn't as focused on my own personal fulfillment because I kind of hadn't ticked the boxes and reached the milestone of you've helped someone else today, so now you can go have your own. Yeah. So it was kind of still conditioning it. So I think the moment that we actually say, I give myself permission to feel fulfillment, I open myself up to it. And I always, with my clients, always take them through, whether there's this almost visualization if they've kind of blocked themselves up, they've kind of shut the doors on all of themselves. And it's I'm just going to open it up and give myself permission to feel fulfillment. Yeah. And then you start to feel it in, the little things and the big things as well.
I love that because it's yeah. I'm not even going to go on from that. It's self-explanatory on that one. What What do you think is a issue in the world today that needs to be talked about more?
Just one. Yeah. Privilege. So white privilege is a huge one. And I think as well that's kind of become something that I've definitely been more aware of. Privilege as a whole, but white privilege in particular. But privilege as a whole just over because of the industry I'm in now. And we have to, you know, that the hierarchy of needs, the little chart.
Maslow's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's like the self-actualization is at the very top there and everything else comes below it. And I think that I am so happy with what I get to do and the coaching work that I get to do and the women I get to help, and it's incredible. But equally, to be coached or mentored by someone is a privilege. Like, it's not necessarily accessible to everybody, because you have to have all your basic needs met first. So I'm aware that the actual work I do is in a privilege position. So I think that needs to be, but I would say the conversation as a whole needs to be spoken about in all elements, not just the coaching industry. But yeah, I can definitely see how it plays out a lot in the industry I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Privilege to have the choices that we have, live in the countries that we have the opportunities that we have. There's so many different elements that we could talk about. Yeah, very different. I haven't heard that one either. So really awesome that you bring it up. What is consciousness to you?
Oh, that's such a good one. I don't know if I'm kind of just seeing like space and the world. But I feel like maybe I'm more need to talk about something internal. But consciousness, being aware of yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, those around you. And then knowing that you then have a choice with how you follow through on all of those things.
Amazing. Yeah. What was the space reference? Of consciousness as a whole. Yeah.
I always get like visuals and I was like, I can just see the orbit, and I feel like, you know.
Yeah. What do you think all my logos have a galaxy in the background?
Yeah.
Consciousness.
Yeah.
Hence, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the logo on the back of the laptop. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to leave with the listeners? Any last words?
No, I don't think so. I think I trust that whatever needed to be heard made it there. Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm happy.
And how can people connect with you, hear more about you, see what you do in your life?
Yeah, sure. So my website is www.emiliafrancesca.com, and I'm over on Instagram at @_Emilia Francesca. And those are my two main spaces.
Amazing. And that'll be in the show notes below as well on whatever platform you're listening on. But also on, if you're not already, which you should be, so go do it, is the Conscious Podcast on Instagram, and Emilia will be tagged in everything that has her face on it. And connect with her. She puts out amazing content and value, advice, wisdom, and then your programs as well. So you do run programs? Yeah,
so I do one-on-one coaching, I do group programs, and I do speaking and events and stuff as well. So, yeah. Which is really awesome because I just connected with someone, not connected, I've connected with her for a long time, but said that you had coached her, and that's Emma Barr. Yeah, I love her. She's from my hometown, and we were messaging and we were talking about something else, and then we posted the photo yesterday together, and she's like, she was my coach, and I'm like, no way. This is crazy how it's all like mixed in and how we know the same people. I adore her. And so that was through Confident Coach Academy, which is, I basically saw this gap in the industry for women who just started out as coaches, who felt that the only option was that they were being plugged this like build a 7-figure business in 6 weeks, but actually that went completely against their intuition of why they became a coach in the first place. Was like, I want to make impact, I want it to be soulful. So I kind of created a program to help people actually still be successful and still make money, but in a way that feels really integral to them. So she was in that. She's awesome. And she spoke so highly of you and you as a coach, and how you helped her transform her life and get from A to B. So, guys,
check her out.
Yeah.
She's awesome. As in Emilia and Emma as well.
Yeah.
But everyone, check out everyone. They're awesome. I want to wrap this up by saying, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so grateful that we connected a year ago and stayed friends, and it's just been building ever since. And then we were able to be in the same spot, and it was just
so
like I was
good.
always going to be like, let's get on the podcast, but it was so nice to actually meet you in person and feel your energy and everything, because we've always connected so well. And then in person, it was just like, we said it yesterday, it's like we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's the benefits of social media, but also it's a props to you and what you do, because that's putting out your energy and how amazing you are, but also how you want to impact people. And I see that and I feel that, and that's what I connect with, because I'm doing the same.
Yeah.
And when you live in your expression, yes, we've always got shit to work on. We're always evolving.
Yeah.
We're not at a perfect point and then it stops. We're always evolving, but you put that out and then I put mine out, and that's where we connected. So thank you for being you and for working on you, but also using that to impact others. I love it and I admire it so much, and I'm so excited for you and your journey.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
It's been amazing, and I can't wait for more conversations and coffees and everything else. I forgot to mention, we're actually at Code Black. Amazing coconut iced long black.
Anytime you want to, sponsor us.
Yeah, guys, any coffee companies out there, or any cafes that want us to be there, we can make that happen.
Yeah.
But until next time, everyone, take care. Peace.
See ya.